Welcome to Financial Coaching Fundament, the podcast that helps you align your money with your purpose. I'm your host, John. We've all felt the weight of financial stress, the sleepless nights, the silent disagreements with our spouse, the feeling that we've just not in control. But what if there's a better way? What if managing your money was less about math and more about peace of mind? On this podcast, we'll explore a different kind of financial freedom. It's not just about what you earn or what you owe. It's about the emotional clarity that comes from being on the same page with your spouse, the spiritual strength you gain from worshiping God with your finances, and the deep satisfaction of knowing you're building a lasting legacy for your family. Every week, we'll cut through the noise to bring you simple, powerful truths that will help you move from financial chaos to confidence. If you're ready to find clarity, grow in unity, and live with purpose, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Today, I'm joined by Shannan from Fundamentals of Money. She's a financial coach who helps people decrease financial stress, improve financial stability, and take control of their finances through intentional money management, all without shame or overwhelming you with complicated jargon. Shannan understands that money isn't just about numbers, it's about stewardship, responsibility, and how our financial choices affect our family, our future, and the life we are called to live. She works with clients on particular areas like budgeting, debt payoff, credit, and healthier money habits, while also helping uncover the mindset and patterns that keep people stuck. Her approach is encouraging, judgment-free, and focuses on building long-term confidence and financial peace, not quick fixes. Hey Shannan, how are you today?
Good, John. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we've got to come here to this nice, wonderful library. They've given us a room that we can actually record in. It's pretty nice.
It's pretty nice.
It is great. So welcome, to Financial Coaching Kingdom Men, and I'm gonna ask you some questions if that's okay.
I'm excited.
All right, perfect. So the first one, why is it so much harder for men to ask for financial help than it is for women? How do we break through that I've got it handled pride? What do you think?
Well, I think it is harder for men to ask for help than it is for women to ask for help. And I think people somehow in today's society think that they are just supposed to know how to handle money, when the reality is most of us weren't taught. Our parents are reluctant to discuss finances with us. It's generally not taught in schools.
I know I've grown up that way of not talking, and I haven't really shared a whole lot with my kids either. So
I hope we get to talk about that.
Okay, great.
My parents did share with me about that, and it's been very worthwhile. I didn't know at the time how big of a deal it was, but back to the thing about men though, and lots of times I think in lots of relationships the man is kind of the lead or the head, and so it just kind of falls on them to manage the finances, and it's not necessarily their forte, but they kind of think they have to shoulder that. If they talk about it, maybe they could, with their spouse, could come up with a more equally sharing in that task. Another thing that I think is important.
Okay.
In our society and culture, money is oftentimes seen as the measure of success. You can quote, air quotes, tell by the size of the house that people live in, or how manicured their lawn is, or the car they drive, vacations they take, the toys they have, and maybe even sometimes what activities their kids are in school. And so on the surface, these look like a sign of actual financial success, but the banks will give you a loan for just about anything. So number one, they might not actually be true. And then number two, I don't think that someone's financial position, even if it is solid, even if they're living how they look like they're living, that's not the measure of their worth. But it's hard in our society because society tells us you're not worth much if you don't have it. You're worth less if you have less money. And so since men are often the main breadwinners, I think they feel this, air quotes, erroneous measure of success more than women.
Right, and we have to have that ability to know how to take care of it. Do I have the biggest truck, or does my friend have a bigger truck?
And it's hard to get past that.
It is.
Because a bigger truck just costs more in insurance and more in gas.
So Shannan and I both live here in the Treasure Valley in Idaho. But living here, we've seen the cost of living explode. What's the biggest challenge that you see local families facing right now that they didn't face 5 years ago?
I have lived here in the Treasure Valley since about 2000, and so I have gotten to see some of those changes. And I think one of the significant things within the last 5 or so years is the cost of living. Boise's made the news for being in the top however many places to live. So that's drawn people to us. The COVID epidemic, where you could work from home, so you could live anywhere, we have seen an influx of people. I imagine you have seen that too, as far as traffic and lines at every place you go.
The traffic is wonderful. It takes me a bit longer than I want when I try to go to work and home.
Yes. And working from home, I got to avoid that for a while, and then when you went back to work, like, I didn't remember the traffic being this bad, and then thinking you just didn't remember right, but no, it's more people. So, along with that explosion in population, it seems like all housing prices have gone up. Mm-hmm. I had a coworker telling me about a rent increase, and her rent was going to go up $400 a month.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot of money, but that was like a 25% increase in rent. And I don't think that I've seen housing prices have really come down. The people that I talk with, it blows my mind how much they're paying for rent.
Right. It's interesting also for somebody who's owned a house before the prices went up. There's a lot of people who don't feel like they can move now because they're going, I can't find a place for the same quality or can't get the same rate. So they have to make some choices. And for the younger people who are coming and building up and just coming out of school, it's a struggle.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as financial coaches, one of the rules of thumb is housing around 25% of your income. And I don't know about the people that you work with, but I don't know where you find that kind of housing here in Boise.
It is a tough one for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, another question for you. What is the one sneaky expense that you see eating away at people's budgets without them even realizing it?
I love the way you phrased that question. You kind of gave it away.
Oh no. Uh-oh.
You said the expense that you see eating away at people's budgets. And that's kind of going to be what my answer is. I think that everywhere, eating out, restaurants, fast food, morning coffee, DoorDash, all those kind of things add up a lot more than people think.
But I need to eat.
You do need to eat.
I like to eat.
I had this discussion with a client. This client was lumping dining out, and that included things like breakfast burritos at the gas station with her coffee, and McDonald's at lunch or whatever, along with her grocery expenses. And that's a important differentiation to make because most of us can cook food at home for much cheaper than we can get it at the gas station, and certainly at fast food, and certainly at ritzier restaurants.
I had a gentleman who he graduated from culinary school, knows how to cook.
Yeah.
Where was he going to a lot of time getting food? The gas station. Going, what's happening here? You're spending a lot of money at these gas stations. I don't think this is all gas. And it wasn't. It was food that he was purchasing for the convenience of being able to do that. And going, but you're a chef. You know how to do this.
Right.
But anyway.
I hear you. And I mean, people are pressed for time and they're stressed out. And it is easier to go and pick up something that somebody else has cooked and you don't have to clean up. But it is costly financially. It costs you a lot of money.
And my waistline shows.
Right? Yeah. People just, I was talking to someone too, this person who was picking up that breakfast burrito and coffee at the gas station on the way to work, and suggesting maybe you could make a batch of breakfast burritos, freeze them, pull one out, and go. And just those little tweaks like that. There's all kinds of little things. I'm not a super genius for thinking of that, but different ways to save money while not starving. And that also to say, not that you can't dine out, whatever form that takes, but be prepared. Spend that mindfully and intentionally, and like, this is special. We're going out because it's someone's birthday, or
plan for it. You
right.
know? So, okay, I want to make sure I'm having date nights with my wife. I need to plan for that. I need to make sure that is added to the budget. During those conversations, when we're having those budget dates, make sure we're talking about that. How do we want to pay for that? And just have it in there.
Absolutely. Yes. We need to have money for that, so I'm glad you mentioned that.
Right. And other ways to save money on food, like budgeting or meal planning.
Mm-hmm.
And not doing DoorDash is convenient, but that's a bit of an extra cost. Not saying it's a bad thing. It may be good to have it be a DoorDasher, so that you can make some money, but also they're making money from the people who are purchasing it.
Right.
So just be careful.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
What's that?
Another thing that I found with budget killers is vices. And in working with people, sometimes they...
Vices? Like the tools that you put on the
No.
No? Oh.
And not like Miami Vice either.
Oh, okay.
Kind of, maybe. The things that... some people say you shouldn't do. I'm talking about smoking, vaping, alcohol, other things like that. I think they just add up, again, just like the food, more than people think. You don't really think, and I don't know if people are budgeting for these, if they're sticking them in with their food or what, but to separate them out, kind of like dining out, is, I think, probably pretty illuminating to see what they actually spend. And I've had people realize, well, I need to stop drinking that much once
Right.
they see the spend. Yeah.
Those are definitely hard things to stop once you start, and for sure. And that would be it's hard. It really is. I know my dad was 3 packs a day smoker, back in the day, and so that was definitely something he struggled with all his life.
Yeah.
And stuff. So. The other thing, I don't know if you've been on any of these apps or games or anything, or watched a football game or a basketball game. All these opportunities to gamble that are easy, that you just put attached to your credit card. Oh my goodness, scares the bejeebies out of me as a coach and as a person. And it's funny, I was talking to one of my coworkers the other day. He was a younger guy in his 20s. I'm like, hey, do you do online betting? He's like, he smiled and goes, not anymore. And he learned a lesson there.
He lost a little bit?
He lost a little bit.
I didn't even know that was a thing till I heard a friend talking about it, and I don't know how it works, but yes, I could see.
It adds up quick.
Yeah, I'll bet it does.
We all have kids. We are kids. We have parents. Some of us have parents living with us. Some of us have kids living with us at the same time. So we're basically Oreos, right? We're the Oreo generation of both parents and kids at the same time. And we talk about leaving an inheritance for our children's children. Beyond money, what is the one financial habit you want to pass down to the next generation?
I love this question. I love that you take it beyond finances too. It's great if we can leave an inheritance, but that's not always an option. So I was raised on a farm in a rural area, and we didn't have a lot of money. Dating myself a little, it was before credit cards were ubiquitous like they are now. I actually remember my parents having a discussion about whether or not to get one. So even though I grew up in a household that didn't have a lot of money, my parents did talk about handling money. We heard in the course of, daily conversations, it wasn't like my parents had a sit down, we're going to talk about money conversation, but we would hear them talking about this stuff. They didn't hide it from us. About debt, learning about debt, paying back debt if you borrow, interest on debt, interest made on investments, interest on your savings account, savings for emergencies, saving for large purchases. So I was very blessed to have that. As kids, we were also expected to get jobs if we wanted anything beyond the basics.
What was your first job?
I think my first job was probably a reporter for the local newspaper, The Reporter and Farmer.
Oh, there you go.
I had to call people and ask them. They had local sections for each of the small towns in the area, and they would report, oh, the Bushes had family in town. A nice night of playing boggle was enjoyed by all.
Good life.
Right.
Good life.
I also had one of my other first jobs was the glorious job of scraping plates in the cafeteria in the school lunchroom. That was super fun, and
Yay.
People liked to make a mess and let me scrape it off, but it paid for stuff that I wanted to do that my parents didn't pay for.
Which I'm sure were a lot of fun things that you were excited to do. So, yeah.
They were. Yeah. So, and my siblings and I, we all worked in high school. We also had checking accounts. We learned how to manage money and put money into and out of them. I remember late nights, mostly with my dad, trying to balance my checking account. If you've never done that, it's an experience.
Using a checkbook and a check register?
Yes, sir.
Those are days.
Writing in pen, writing in balances, yes.
Knowing exactly how much is in your account and how much has been spent and how many of those checks have yet to get cleared. Ugh.
Exactly. Even up until about the last 5 years, my dad believed his check ledger had to balance to the penny. I've told him, Dad, I use an electronic version of that now, and if my balance doesn't balance, it's usually 23 cents or something like that, and my electronic version has a adjust button, which I happily hit for 23 cents. My dad, up until recently, would give me a hard time about that. I'm like, Dad, my time is worth more than 23 cents to find that error. But you're picking up what I'm putting down,
right?
Gaining that respect. And as a kid, I didn't really realize how valuable this would be, and I didn't even realize that my parents were doing this. Another thing that they did, they had a habit of, if we wanted to buy a large purchase, challenging us to save for it, and they offered to match us, depending on the purchase, but usually it was dollar for dollar. So, like I said, I grew up in the rural area on a farm, and we had horses. Interestingly enough,
Did you play polo?
I did not play polo.
What? Okay.
Ran some barrels, did some reining.
Okay.
I never did any roping, but I had friends that did. But my parents had saddles. My sister was a couple years younger than me, and we would go out and ride together. We had good kids' horses. We were riding bareback because we didn't have saddles. And so number one, teaches you how to ride, balance, communicate to the horse through leg pressure and different things like that. But in order to get a saddle, my grandpa would come visit from out of town, out of state. He would call my mom periodically and say, hey, I found a saddle for, at the time it was, these were used saddles, $125, $150.
Wow, that's still at that time.
Exactly, and for kids.
Yeah.
Because this was...
I'm not saying she's old, okay, people? I'm just not saying that. All right.
Well, I already told them about the credit card thing.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
So, for a kid, and this was probably before my first job, although my parents paid us allowance and, for doing different jobs. But so I remember Mom would get out and she'd have the ledger and she'd write down, how much I would contribute to that. And then it was like, so Grandpa's going to be here in the fall. We need to have this by then. And so it gave us an impetus to save and a reward for saving. And it was an item that we wanted.
So she was tallying up how much you were... That's pretty cool.
Yeah, rather than just keep it in your head or something. I guess that also gave us kind of a respect for tracking things and keeping track of things.
Right.
So that's all a long, very roundabout answer, perhaps, back to your question. You asked a financial habit you would want to pass down to the next generation. So I think that if you can leave an inheritance for your kids, great. Better even if you can leave them a legacy of how to handle money. That will allow them so they can wisely handle their finances and any inheritance if they get one.
Right. One of my friends who likes to say more is caught than taught.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to something like money, so one of the great things about being a dad is you have kids are watching you, and you can help train them and help them do the great things that you want those kids to do. One of the bad things about being a dad is the kids are watching you. They're seeing when you're not feeling your best. They're seeing you when you're doing those things that you probably aren't the best, whether financially or eating, those Ben & Jerry single serving containers that they sell.
Right.
That's not necessarily the best thing for them to see, but I guess I'm telling myself a little bit.
But it's okay, because I'm pretty sure they're going to make mistakes too,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can see how you honestly handle it and talking through them with that.
Right. We all make mistakes,
Yep.
and we all need to be, whether it's a mistake with money or a mistake with health, God's good to help us heal from our mistakes.
Right.
For sure.
Maybe we can shine a little bit of that grace through us to them when they make mistakes, or explaining our mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon, it was great to have you here. I'm glad we could have this conversation together. One of the places that hopefully we get to have a conversation about in the near future is about Love Inc. That's actually how Shannon and I got to know each other a little bit, is by volunteering at Love Inc. And hopefully we're going to do an episode about Love Inc. here pretty soon. Okay? But if you guys are interested in working with Shannon, she offers a complimentary introductory consultation, a relaxed, no-pressure conversation to get clarity around your finances and see if her coaching is the right fit for you. You can reach out to her by email by coach@fundamentalsofmoney.com or through her website at fundamentalsofmoney.com. So it's either email you at coach@fundamentalsofmoney.com or go to your website, which is fundamentalsofmoney.com.
Yes, just as simple as it sounds, spelled exactly like you would expect it is. Thank you, John. I've appreciated it.
All right, thank you. Good to see you here.
It's clear that the financial lessons we pass on to our children are some of the most important gifts we can give them. From teaching them to give, save, and spend, to helping them to navigate big decisions like college or buying a house, our guidance is a legacy that lasts far beyond our lifetime. The world is full of messages telling our kids to spend what they don't have, but you have the power to teach them a different way. Don't wait to start these conversations. Seek out resources like those from Ramsey Solution or Crown Financial Ministries and start the journey today. And if you're ready for a more personalized plan, one that's tailored to your family's unique situation, I'm here to help. Visit financialcoachjohnllc.com to schedule a consultation. Let's work together to build a strong financial foundation for your children and a lasting legacy for your family.